So please close your eyes, hands on your heart. And just inhale slowly and exhale slowly to the Divine Supreme Being, the Universal Consciousness. Thank you for holding me in place today. We humbly invoke for your divine presence, your divine guidance, your divine help, your divine protection, your divine mercy, your forgiveness, your illumination during the session today. To all the great, great ones, the hierarchy of the great, great ones, the solar logos, the planetary logos, the lords of karma, to all the great, great spiritual teachers of all traditions, to all the spiritual elders seated beside the throne of God, to the angelic realm. We are so grateful for your blessings, for your guidance, for your teachings, for your love, for your protection. To our divine self, the divine spark, the higher self, and the immortal part of ourselves, thank you for your love, your cooperation. We are most grateful. Thank you for blessing us with a beautiful heart, a giving heart, a generous heart, an intelligent mind, a creative mind, a discerning mind, a clear mind, and an unstoppable will that we may serve as your instruments to bring joy, kindness, peace, God's love, God's light to everyone around us. We thank you in full faith. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you may open your eyes. So welcome again to this space. I'm going to start by assuming that you all agree that the qualities of love, compassion, and kindness, these are the qualities that everybody respects, whether you're into meditation, whether you're into mindfulness, whether you're into spirituality or not. Everybody, just in ordinary daily life, everybody is drawn to people who are kind. You know, when we talk about people and say that she's a nice person or he's a nice person, we actually, what are we trying to say? We mean that they are generous, they are loving, they're not wrapped up so much in themselves. But in our journey of spirituality, of course, you would all agree with me, that is the main point, the development of compassion, the development of a kind heart, a more open heart. And we all have it. We all have the seeds for it. But we are trying to develop it further since we are on this path of spirituality. We are trying to spread beyond its limitations. And one of the biggest limitations for all of us is that our compassion tends to be sort of conditional. We help people, and then it always happens. We help somebody, and then at some point they do something or they say something that we do not like. And what's the first thought that comes in our heads? After all that I have done for them, how could they? True or not? That's a natural response. But that also shows that our compassion is still not yet mature. It's wound up with ego and limitations. And in our journey, we are trying to expand beyond these limitations, develop those deeper qualities of unconditional compassion, of unconditional love, a more open heart. And in this journey, in this process, in this path that we are on, forgiveness is a major, major component in this process. It's an act of great power that we can make. It's the most powerful thing that we can do. It's like coming back into a state of a right relationship with ourselves, with our history, with our destiny, and with all of nature. Forgiveness is the practice of coming into a state of grace. Forgiveness is never about the other person. It's never about the other person. It's a choice. If I were to ask all of you right here in this moment, would you like to live joyfully, blissfully, peacefully, or miserably, in anger, in bitterness, in resentment, in stress? What would be your natural choice? All of us, every human being, we seek the highest form of pleasantness for ourselves in our lives. True or not? When our bodies become pleasant, we call it health. When our bodies become very pleasant, we call it vigor, vibrancy, vitality, pleasure. When our mind becomes pleasant, we call it peace, calm. When our mind becomes very pleasant, we call it joy. When our emotions become pleasant, we call it love. And when our emotions become very pleasant, we call it compassion. When our life's energies become pleasant, we call it bliss. And when our life's energies become very pleasant, we call it ecstasy. When the external circumstances become pleasant, we call it success. Now, in all of this, it is only when we want the external circumstances to be pleasant, there is involvement of a lot of other people. It involves a lot of factors, a lot of forces. Some of them we don't even know. But for the pleasantness of our body, the pleasantness of our mind, our emotions, and our life's energies, it's 100% us. It's 100% you. We want to be peaceful, but he did that to me. She said this to me. They are going to do what they know best. Yeah, but they're abusing me. Perhaps that's the life experiences that they received. And we begin to feel resentful, hoping that something will happen to them. Anger, resentment, bitterness, hatred is like drinking poison and then hoping that somebody else will die. But it doesn't work that way. That's not fair. We are drinking poison and we can't expect someone else to die. And when I say poison, I'm not using the word poison as a metaphor. It's now scientifically proven. Numerous studies have been done, and medical science has proved it and validated it that when we take a blood test once, and then later, if we take another blood test with somebody who's just been in 5 minutes of extreme anger situation, the blood actually gets chemically poisoned. That's huge, right? The blood getting chemically poisoned with just 5 minutes of extreme anger situation. There's a very interesting quote by Confucius. He says that when you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. You want to get even? Go ahead. Dig a grave for the other person, but make sure you dig a grave for yourself. One of the greatest hindrances that we experience in our spiritual growth, in our development, in our unfolding, whether you believe me or not, is resentment. And the only antidote to resentment is forgiveness. The magic F word, as I call it, forgiveness. Forgiveness, and write it, tattoo it in your heart. Forgiveness is the manifestation of the soul's kindness. So let's break down the quote of Confucius when he says that when you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. So fact 1, nobody's perfect. We are not perfect. We are going to mess up. No matter how careful we are, We are going to mess up. We are going to make mistakes. We all do that. Hopefully, once we are on this journey of spirituality, on our spiritual path, the number of mess ups that we make grow less and less, both in quantity, in number, and even in intensity. And fact number two, when people do something that they are not intended to, which is when somebody hurts us, harms us, how much we suffer depends on our response to what has happened to us, to what someone has done to us, what someone has said to us. Many great masters have said this, and I think I've talked about it in the past as well. Pain happens, pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. Suffering is optional. We cannot control how other people think, what other people say, what other people do, or what happens in the nature. But we can control how we respond to what's happening outside of us. Pain happens, suffering is a choice. Someone's nasty to you, somebody insulted you. Now your response will determine two things. Number one, whether you suffer or not. Number two, how long you suffer. And that's the part where the soul, the spiritual self, makes choices. And we are going to look at it from that viewpoint, from the higher viewpoint, from the viewpoint of the soul. Because if we look at it from the viewpoint of our emotions, if we look at it from the viewpoint of our mind, our thoughts, our mental faculties, then guaranteed misery. So let's look at it from the viewpoint of the soul. The soul, and we've shared this in the past as well, the soul is not yet perfect. The soul is pure energy. The soul is pure, but not yet perfect. The essence of the soul is pure. It comes from God, from the universal consciousness, but it's not yet perfect. So, in other words, there is room to grow. We need lessons to learn. The soul is in the process of becoming. The soul is still, since it's not yet perfect, even though it's pure, it's made in the image of God, there are certain qualities it has to attain. It can be made more aware, it can be better. The soul is in the process of becoming. Number two, since the soul is not perfect, there are going to be times, and sometimes the soul gives into the tendencies of what the body wants, what the emotions want, and what the minds, the thoughts, the mental faculties want. And I've shared this analogy in the past as well. The soul is like a charioteer holding the reins. And the soul has these three horses: the physical body, the emotional body or the astral body, and the mental body. Now, one horse wants to go over here, the other horse wants to go over there. Perhaps there's one horse that just wants to sit still and do nothing, or go in a completely different direction. Now, if the charioteer is not in the control of its horses, then the charioteer is at the mercy of its horses. So let me give you an example of how the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body take over. Supposing there's a person who wants to drink alcohol. I mean, it could be anything. I'm taking this example. The idea is to do something that is excessive. So now the physical body, when the person drinks alcohol, the physical body gets satisfaction, whatever satisfaction it's getting out of it. The emotional body and the mental body also get some form of satisfaction. Now, say this person who is drinking excessively is also going through a lot of emotional turmoil and mental confusion. So the mental faculties are completely numb. Now, at that point, if the soul doesn't say, hey, wait, don't drink so much. It's not good for your body. It's not good for your emotions. It's not good for your mind. It's not good for your life. You get drunk every time you drink like this, and then you're completely wasted. But the soul gives in. The soul has no control over its what the body wants, what the mind wants, what the emotion wants. Gives in, gives in, gives in. And then the body takes over. It wants more and more because it's getting some form of satisfaction, whatever it's getting. The emotions take over, the mind takes over, and this person continues to drink and drink and drink. Also, because the emotions and the mind has taken over, this person is feeling angry and frustrated. And here comes a family member and tells this person who's drinking, listen, you've started drinking a lot every evening. This is not so great for you. You shouldn't be drinking so much. And the person who's drinking, that person just lashes out at this other person, yells and screams, whether physically or emotionally. Now, the other person has two choices. We just talked about how we make choices on how to respond. Scenario one, this person says, oh my God, this person is so obnoxious, such a wasted person, good for nothing, harms me, hurts me, so rude, such a jerk. May you burn in hell. I'm not going to stay with this person a minute longer. And may you continue to burn in hell for making me feel like this and doing this to me. And then this person continues to dwell on these thoughts, on these feelings for days after that, for weeks after that, for months after that. And the feelings of resentment, of hatred, of bitterness, they continue to grow deeper and deeper and deeper, and you're holding everything inside your physical body. They continue to get deeper and deeper. Now, what happens? The person who's drinking continues to deteriorate, because that person continues to drink. And the other person who's holding all this anger, bitterness, resentment continues to suffer. Now, fast forward this scenario 5 years later. I mean, if the guy is still alive, we don't know whether that person who's been drinking like this is still alive. I mean, if the liver is still not toasted enough. But even if that person who is drinking excessively is still alive, guaranteed every aspect of that person's life has gone down the toilet. Whether it's physical, whether it's mental, whether it's emotional, whether it's financial, and of course, spiritual. Every aspect has gone down the toilet. The other person, perhaps this person is no longer in that relationship, is physically no longer with that person, has ended that relationship physically. But this person is not able to have any other relationship because this person is still in a cocoon of anger and bitterness and resentment. So my question to you is, did that other person's life get any better by holding anger and resentment and bitterness for that person? No, it didn't get any better, even though this person is no longer in a relationship with that other person. Scenario two, the same thing happens, yelling, screaming, lashing out on this family member. And this person pauses and says, I have to really, really try harder, try my best to get some help for this person. Understands and says, this time I'm going to let it pass. I'm going to let this go, because deep down there is that compassion and understanding that whatever this person did or said, and even though I'm hurt and I'm harmed, but I know, I understand that whatever happened was the outcome of the alcohol. This person is not in control of herself or himself. And I'm really, really going to make another attempt to try and get help for this person. Fast forward this scenario 5 years later. Supposing this person, they're no longer in this relationship. This other person, he or she, they're getting on with their life, not being held down by this incident, because this person let go of their anger, resentment, right at the very start. This person freed herself or himself of this bitterness, of this anger and resentment within a few days, or right at the very start of when this incident happened. Just letting it pass. Now, this person is getting on with her or his life. I mean, there are other things that happen in life, but this person is not held down by this particular incident. Forgiveness is an act of self interest. It's when you say, I want to get on with my life. I want to get on with my life. I don't want to be stuck there. I don't want to carry this baggage of my past. I forgive for myself. I forgive for myself. It's an act of liberation. It's the greatest freedom that you can gift yourself. Forgiveness is not about condoning the other person's behavior. And this is really, really important to understand. When we forgive someone, it's not condoning the other person's behavior. It's a choice we make. It's about freeing up the energy blocks that we are holding, the resentments, the bitterness, the hatred that we are carrying. It's always a choice we make for ourselves. It's a gift we give ourselves. It's never about the other person. And that is a very vital thing to understand about forgiveness. When I was planning this series, that was the whole point, to share these teachings, to try to understand forgiveness, and to realize that that's the only way if you do not want to suffer. That's the only way if you do not want to suffer. You know, Gandhi has this beautiful quote about forgiveness. Gandhi says, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strongest. It's a very powerful thing to do. And I do agree, sometimes it can be tough. It is very tough. Perhaps it can be one of the hardest things for some of us to do, especially when you feel justified that you've been wronged. And yet, we are doing it for ourselves. We are not doing it for the other person. We are doing it to sleep better, for our own peace, for our own joy, for our own bliss, for our own freedom, for our own liberation. There are many stories about forgiveness that have inspired me on my personal journey. And I'm going to be sharing some of these stories over the next 2 Saturdays as well. But here's one story that I'm going to be sharing today. This is about this Tibetan Buddhist monk who is imprisoned by the Chinese government for 20 years. And during his imprisonment, during his time there, he's very often mistreated by the guards. He's beaten up by the guards ruthlessly. And when he's released, he comes to America and he's interviewed by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who asks him, when did you feel you were in the most danger? And the monk said, I felt I was in the most danger when I thought I would lose my ability to feel compassion and forgiveness for my guards. It just blew my mind. Amazing, isn't it? We aspire on our journey on this path to have that level of compassion, that level of forgiveness. Most of us, hopefully, will never have to go through that brutal experience in our lives. That kind of brutal experience where we are beaten up for 20 years, every day, ruthlessly, mercilessly. And in a small cubby hole, dark cubby hole. Hopefully, most of us will never ever have to experience that brutal experience. But my question is, are we yet able to feel compassion and forgiveness for the smaller slights, betrayals, and discouragements in our life. And I'm going to end today's talk here with this question for all of us to reflect on. And yeah, this story profoundly touched me, deeply, deeply touched me, inspired me, and I hope it does the same to everyone who's part of the session today. So let's get to the practice. Before we start the practice, I want all of us to do something called wave breathing. It's a very slow and deep practice. So our abdomen resembles a wave as we breathe. So it's very simple. So I want you to place one hand on your lower belly and one hand on your
What
chest.
is it called in Dream? Can you say again?
It's called wave breathing, wave, W-A-V-E,
Okay.
wave. So your abdomen actually resembles a wave as you breathe, okay? So I'll just tell you how to do this. So as you slowly, the practice is about slow and deep breathing. It's not about how many times you breathe, but it's about slow and deep breathing. And focus your mind on your breath when you're doing this practice. So whenever your mind wanders, bring it back to your breath. So one hand on your chest and one hand on your lower belly. And how it works is that as you slowly inhale, inhale into your lower belly first. Let your lower belly rise. And then inhale into your middle abdomen and then your chest. And then as you exhale slowly, your chest will drop first, emptying the air, which has been filled into your lungs, and then your middle abdomen, and then your lower belly will completely empty out any air. So that's how it works. It's like a wave. Has everyone got it? Shall we do it together? Show me a thumbs up if you got it. Okay, good, great. So let's just place one hand on the belly, one hand on the chest, and very slowly inhaling into your lower belly, your middle abdomen, and your lungs. And now, very slowly beginning to exhale, empty out your lungs through your nose, then your middle abdomen, and then your lower belly. Slowly inhaling into your lower belly and feel the hand rise as your belly fills up. And then fill up your middle abdomen, then fill up your chest, your lungs. So your lungs expand as the air fills them. And slowly exhaling, your lungs drop, emptying out, your middle abdomen empties out, and your lower belly empties out, completely releasing any air. Again, slowly inhaling, lower belly, hand rising, middle abdomen, your chest, and exhaling, dropping your lungs, your middle abdomen, and your lower belly. And remember to focus your mind on your breath, inhaling and slowly exhaling. Lungs, middle abdomen, lower belly. Slow and deep, as slow and deep. Slowly inhaling the lower belly, filling up, your hand rising, your middle abdomen filling up, your chest filling up. And beginning to exhale, releasing the air from your lungs, your middle abdomen, and your lower belly. Your mind focusing on your breath. Inhaling again. And slowly exhaling. You may close your eyes as you do this, and you will begin to notice that all your stress will just melt away. Your tension will disappear. So you can practice this wave breathing any time of the day. Take a pause of 2-3 minutes and just bring your mind back to your breath. Slowly emptying out your breath from your lungs, your middle abdomen, your lower belly, and then inhaling and filling up your belly, your middle abdomen, and your lungs. And one last time, slowly exhaling, emptying it all out. Lovely. Now, I just want you to sit comfortably, and we are going to do this very, very beautiful Buddhist practice of forgiveness in the three directions. So, sit comfortably, close your eyes gently. Bring your attention to the here, in the reality of the present. You're here, feel your body. You're here in the morning of 19th of November 2022. With your eyes closed, you're here attending this session over Zoom. And just soften your eyes, soften your face, and let your breath breathe easily, gently. And trust yourself. You're seated on the earth, or your feet are grounded and rooted to the earth. You are seated under your own tree of enlightenment. You are the Buddha, seated under your tree of enlightenment, learning this great, great practice, this powerful practice of forgiveness. Continue to breathe gently. And then in the first direction, with your eyes closed, follow along. And here's the reflection for the first direction. There are so many ways in which I have harmed and hurt others, abandoned others, betrayed others, caused pain so many times. I remember these now, and I feel the sorrows I carry. Let yourself remember the many ways in which you may have harmed and hurt others knowingly and unknowingly, betrayed others, abandoned others, caused suffering and pain to others. And feel the sorrow, the sorrows that you still carry. And in the many ways that I have hurt and harmed others, abandoned others, betrayed others, caused suffering to others, out of my fear and confusion and misunderstanding and anger and pain and hurt, in this moment, I ask for your forgiveness. In this moment, I ask for your forgiveness. May I be forgiven. Please forgive me. And as you ask, remember and ask for forgiveness. Feel the movement of your heart that is willing to ask for forgiveness and perhaps to receive it. And so, as we do this practice, the tears and the regrets, these are some of the things that may come up. And it's okay, it's all right. You're in a safe space. You are safe. I want you to visualize a rose in the middle of your chest. And I want you to visualize that beautiful beam of pink light from your heart is now filling up all those people from whom you're asking for forgiveness. That beam of beautiful, brilliant, glistening, shining, bright pink light from your heart is now radiating out to all those you are just visualizing who you have hurt and harmed knowingly and unknowingly. Showering them with this beautiful, beautiful pink light. Continue to breathe gently. And in the second direction, I want you to include yourself. Just as I have hurt and harmed others, so have I also hurt and harmed myself, abandoned my deepest values and love. Just as I have caused pain to others, I have also caused pain and suffering to myself, betrayed myself, judged myself in so many ways. I remember these now, and I feel the feelings of sorrow I still carry. Let yourself remember the many ways in which you have caused suffering to yourself, mind, body, heart, spirit, betrayed yourself, abandoned yourself, judged yourself, beaten yourself down, given away your power. And feel the feelings that you carry with it. In the many ways that I have hurt and harmed myself, abandoned myself, betrayed myself, judged myself, beaten myself down, given away my power. In this moment, I have done all of that out of my fear and confusion. My pain, my hurt, my frustration. And in this moment, I hold myself with mercy and tender forgiveness. I hold myself with mercy and tender forgiveness for all of my humanity. And just visualize yourself, either visualize yourself holding yourself in a tight embrace, or you could just physically cross your arms across your chest and hold yourself tightly. Embrace yourself. holding yourself with mercy and tender forgiveness. I forgive myself. And the image, when you hold yourself in this image, the image that I want you to hold in your heart is the image of a mother holding her only beloved infant with so much love, unconditional love, with tenderness, with warmness, with sweetness, with so much affection. And if you're ready, tell yourself, I love you. I love you. I love you. And continue to hold yourself with tender forgiveness. And just say to yourself, I forgive myself. I forgive myself. And just feel your heart expanding. Feel the sweetness, the warmth, the love and affection that your heart is receiving. As you forgive yourself. Those of you who are physically hugging yourselves, you may bring your hands gently back and place them on your lap, your palms facing towards the heavens. Continue to breathe gently. And now, in the third direction, there are so many ways that others have hurt and harmed me. We've all been betrayed by others. We've all had pain and suffering visited on us by others. We've all been hurt by others. I remember these now and sense and feel the feeling that you carry. Let yourself remember the many ways in which others have hurt and harmed you, abandoned you, betrayed you, caused you pain, caused you suffering. And feel the feelings that you carry with it. And in this moment, to the extent that I am ready, this is a process that can't be hurried. In this moment, to the extent that I am ready, I turn my heart to the direction of forgiveness. In this moment, to the extent that I am ready, I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you. I choose to not be stuck there any moment longer. I choose to free myself of all these resentments, this bitterness, this anger that I'm holding inside. I choose to free myself. I choose to forgive you for myself. I choose to no longer stay with the pain of hurting, of hating you in my heart. I choose to let go. I choose to liberate myself. I release you. I release you. I release you. And I release myself. I release myself. I release myself. And I want you to visualize a beautiful, radiant white lotus on the top of your head, on your crown center. And this beautiful, pure, radiant white light that is emanating from this lotus is not only filling you up, but is also beaming outwards, radiating to all those people who, in this moment, you're willing to forgive. Fill them with this white, radiant, luminous, beautiful, 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 brilliant light. I release you. I release you. I forgive you. I forgive you. I release you. I release myself from this bondage. I release myself from this bondage. I release myself from this bondage. And just continue to surround them, to fill them with this radiant, brilliant light, which is emanating from this white lotus on the top of your head, your crown center. And for some of you, as you do this, you will experience a lightness of your heart and forgiveness. But for some of you, you will understand that you're not perhaps yet ready to forgive, and realize the work of the heart that is ahead of you. Continue to breathe gently. Bring your body very slowly, very gently back to the space that you're in. Continue to breathe easily, gently. And whenever you're ready, you may open your eyes. I want to end this session. I know it's very therapeutic for most of us, very healing, deep healing. I want to just end this session by paraphrasing something from the Bible. Saint Peter asks Lord Christ, how many times should I forgive someone who has caused me pain, who has caused me hurt, who has harmed me, who has caused me suffering? Is 7 times good? And Lord Christ says 70 times 7, 490 times. But that doesn't mean that we stop at 491. The deeper teaching, the interpretation of the story is that get the mathematics out of it. Don't keep score. Forgiveness has no limit. Forgive freely. Forgive freely. Forget the math. Forgive, 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 and continue to forgive. Atma Namaste to everyone. Leave me your feedback, your experience from today's session.